Hello Millies, welcome back to Doll Mill. It's been a little longer than normal, hasn't it? For those of you who don't know, I got a new job recently, which is taking half my time. And also, I had been searching for an apartment these past few months. It has been extremely trying and stressing, but the search is finally over. So hooray! So just a heads up, you should be seeing a lot more of me from now on. I've got a very exciting project for you this time. Does anyone recognize the song playing in the background? That's right, the singer is none other than the ever-popular Hatsune Miku. A few of my fellow doll customizing YouTubers and I planned this little collab in honor of Miku's 12th birthday today on August 31st. So happy birthday Miku! We all chose one of the many outfits Miku wears and went to work. I fell in love instantly with the Racing Miku design of 2016, so I jumped at the chance to create this custom. Miku is a very pale character, so I selected this ever after High Raven Queen I had in my doll box. She is missing a hand, but I'll just replace it with another doll's hand later, as we will paint over it to resemble gloves, so it's no problem. We all ready to begin? Ready, set, go! Starting as always, we prep the doll by cutting the hair. Then we scrape the inside of the head so we can easily pull all the leftover roots with a pair of tweezers. Now we remove the factory face-up with some pure acetone. Remember to wash the head with warm water and soap after you remove all the makeup. This way we ensure no damage is made by the acetone later on. I was absolutely sure that I had the exact shade of blue I needed for this custom. But I didn't bother to check until it was too late and I couldn't get more in time for the deadline. The hair is way too blue instead of the turquoise shade of Miku's. Never assume, Tanya, always double check. But I guess this will have to do. But let's worry about the hair later. Let's begin with that tire she'll be sitting on, shall we? First, I grab some paper towels and try to shape a circle as much as possible. This is just to bulk up so we don't waste too much materials later. I secure the shape with some tape and then I cover it with some layers of aluminum foil. I sit her headless body on top so I get a feel for the size. Once happy, I can bring out the paper clay I've had stored for so long now and I get it to use for the very first time. So fluffy, you guys have no idea. Now I covered the tire with an initial layer. I'm gonna leave it to dry for a few hours and when it's solid, I work another layer on it to make the sides flatter. I think it's looking very nice so far, right? Headless Miku looks comfy on top. Now we can work with the clothes. I'm gonna wing the pattern as I've done before sometimes, keeping an eye on the picture as reference and measuring against the body. You know, while I was doing all this and my head kept going, you don't have the right shade for the hair, you don't have the right shade for the hair, you don't have the right shade for the hair. It suddenly hit me. Why not, instead of recreating an existing style, I make my very own Miku design? And suddenly the project got that much more exciting. So from here on out, I'm gonna be basically improvising. And I decided to try something I had never done before. A doll sculpt, you know, like a doll statue, a doll figure. And we will start by doing a major doll surgery. Wahahaha. Epic villain laugh. We're gonna be cutting off some parts so we can pose her better. So let's mark the spots, shall we? Now we cut. Well, this is harder than I thought. Please kids, don't try this without adult supervision. Here's all the pieces. Now I'll use my drill to help remove the arms and legs. I want to sand down the rougher edges left by the jewelry saw. I separate the legs from the knees too, as I want to force the legs to bend and twist much more than they currently allow. I'll secure everything together with some wire and join all the pieces again. I fill up the emptier areas with some aluminum foil and make sure everything stays in place with hot glue. I kind of figure out how the final pose is gonna go and hot glue the legs for now. Sanding down the back of the knee joint will allow for the leg to bend more when I glue it. I also make some holes and secure a small wire to join the legs. As you can probably see, there was no necessity to cut or remove some parts like I did. These legs should have probably stayed intact, but as I mentioned before, I'm totally improvising and didn't plan anything ahead, so oops. Time for epoxy sculpt. Using it around all the cut up areas will help make sure they stay in place and so that the pose holds solid. I also take advantage of this moment and start shaping the shoes she'll be wearing. I'm making them inspired by the custom I was planning to make originally, and using a Draculaurus feet because the epoxy is still drying on the custom and I don't want to risk everything coming apart. So when the epoxy is dry, I just super glue them to the right pair of feet. Then I make the base with more epoxy sculpt and surround her feet. I try to smooth it out as much as possible with some water. Now that I'm not afraid the doll will break down to pieces, I put the head back in place. And I super glue it to hold the pose. Sanding time. I thought using my Dremel would be useful here, but sanding down epoxy sculpt is not very easy. I managed somehow anyways, but I couldn't help but notice I might have used a little bit too much epoxy on the joints, and it will still be noticeable through paint. I covered the top of her head with paper clay. I've decided I'm gonna sculpt the hair instead of rerooting or making a wig. This way I can just paint it, and I will match her correct hair color. The voices in my head have officially quieted down. Let's tie a bit of wire on her ankle so we can hang her while we prime her whole body, because I'm gonna paint her whole body a fantasy color. On the other hand, this tire won't be a tire any longer, I think. So I thought, what could I easily turn it into? The answer? A big donut. Maybe I was hungry at the moment, who knows. So I just layer up and shape the top as some yummy donut glazing. When dry, we begin with the painting process. First I went with brown because chocolate donuts are my favorite, but I didn't like it so dark and I thought it wouldn't match the color palette I had in mind. So I decided to dry brush it with a light pink on top. I think it gave it a very nice texture, so it all worked out nicely in the end. And for the glaze I used a yellow color topped with some gold because let's be honest, we've all wanted to eat a golden donut before, right? No? Is that just me? Our girl is ready for the painting process, so I hang her from my painting corner. It's self-made, so proud. I know she doesn't look very stable, but I'll try to be careful. And I'll be using my special airbrush paints. I bought them in Thailand, yay! I pour them in my airbrush and get to painting. At a point I started having trouble with my airbrush and I realized too late, way too late, that I should have diluted the paint first. Thank God I managed to finish painting everything by then. After I seal her up 1 or 2 more times to protect the paint, we finally start on the face up. Okay, it is rambling time. So, okay, let's begin this. For those of you who are not familiar with this character, here goes. But first a confession. I know absolutely nothing about this character either. I know, sorry. Shocking, right? I mean, I've seen her around on the internet a lot. And I of course know her name. She's very popular after all. But besides that, I am totally blank on the topic. Nevertheless, here it goes. Please, when, not if, but when I say something wrong, feel free to correct me. Hatsune Miku is the name of a Vocaloid software developed by Krypton Future Media. And it's official moe anthropomorph. Wait, and how do you pronounce it? Anthropomorph that a 16-year-old girl with long turquoise twin tails. Thanks a lot, Wikipedia. Always reliable. Yay. So basically, and here goes all I learned based on a quick glance at the wiki page, she is a character designed to be a part of a digital band named Vocaloid or something like that. I think I read it's a voice bank or something. And her voice was developed using voice samples from a Japanese voice actress called Saki Fujita, and developed through a software to make her sing. There's huge events and concerts where she and other characters of the band sing together and they also dance around. But how, do you ask? Holograms, which is so cool. Anyways, Vocaloid has a huge following of fans. They have games and music and tons of merchandise, and fanart floats around the internet like crazy. They're all super adorable, but Miku is by far the most popular of the gang. Isn't she a cutie? Well, now you know as much as I do. I know I will get some insight from a bunch of you in the comments below. Looking forward to that. The face-up is finished. We must continue with the hair now. I cover her head with some plastic sheet and sculpt her bangs directly on top. For the ponytails, I do the same technique used for the donut. I do the original shape with some aluminum foil first, then cover it completely with paper clay. I make some lines for detailing using a needle, and then to make the hair look a bit, a tad more realistic, I added a bunch of thinner pieces of paper clay all around the ponytail, trying to make it look like random strands laying here and there. Now to paint all the pieces. I love her turquoise color. I love the color, seriously. Then I paint the thinner parts with a lighter color to make them pop. And with this task finished, we go to the last step, which is the clothes. I'm just gonna be gluing directly on top of her, as this is a sculpture and the clothes are not meant to be removed. Once again, I'm totally improvising here, and I'm just gluing however I think it will look good on her. Also want to focus on covering the areas where the shape of the epoxy sculpt is still noticeable. So basically all the joints. I paint the shape of the shoes the same color as her hair, to make the color palette feel more balanced. I believe pink ribbons around her arms and legs will look nice and help break all the white of the clothes. And why not? Let's decorate with a bunch of tiny pearls. All that white needs some accents, don't you think? Ribbons in ponytails have always been a personal favorite, so I just twist them around randomly on both ponytails. And with that, we can finally superglue the pieces of hair to her head. I thought I was done when I remembered that Miku is usually sporting some headphones, so basing myself on the design from the Racing Miku, I made a pair with more paper clay. Then I paint some detail with neon pink. I cut a tiny piece where the ears are gonna go with an X-Acto knife, and then directly glue them. I wish I had a pair just like this, seriously. To finish up, I make a couple of bows and glue those along with some tinier pearls on her ponytails to finish the whole ensemble. With those details done, Miku is finally finished. I honestly didn't know what to expect with this project. When I decided to change direction, it was scary, but also very exciting. I think the turn-up was very much worthwhile. I finally got to go all Dr. Frankenstein on a doll, and I got to use my paper clay to sculpt. These are some techniques I've wanted to try out for a while. Who knows, I might decide to do a few more of this in the future. I'm very happy with how she turned out. Miku Pink, which is her official name now, she's very excited to find a new home. If you wish to add her to your doll family or collection, she is up for grabs. Just hit me with a private message on my Instagram or write me an email. All the information will be written below. I want to thank my wonderful patrons as always for their support and faith in my work. You guys are my big rock. I love you all, thank you so much. You're all welcome to join the Patreon family to get some exclusive behind the scene content. Just click on the tab on top or on the link in the description below. And by the way, don't forget to go check out all the wonderful customs of this collaboration, which includes the work of some fantastic customizers like Hextian, Anastazia Custom, H. Ali Crafts, The Doll Fairy, Cooler, Moonlight Jewel, and well, myself. That's a lot of ego right there. But you all already watched my video, so carry on. Thank you all so much for all your continuous love and support. I'm always so happy to read all your beautiful comments. Seriously, can't get a better community than this one. Here's for our Millie gang. Hip hip, hooray! Hope you enjoyed watching and have an amazing and very blessed day, everyone. I will see you on the next one. Love ya! Tschüss!